What's up everybody? So today we're gonna go over 8 crazy quirks with the Nissan 370Z. I've had this car a little over 3 months now. I really do like it. There's a lot of great things about it. A few little things I don't like, which you can check that video out in the description below. So these things, 8 quirks with the vehicle. Some of them are just kind of stupid design flaws that Nissan could have done better. Not saying I don't like them, they're just weird. And then other things are quirky, cool things about the car, just neat design things that work out really well. So let's check out 8 weird things about the car. Starting with number 1, of course, is the gas cap. Now actually, I found this out when I first looked at a 370 way back in the day when they first came out, but it is huge. The gas cap itself is just so much bigger than any other car. It is the size of a hand. Most cars, it's about that big, so it's just a little awkward how big it really is. And then another interesting quirk about the gas cap, it actually locks, which I didn't learn until a few weeks ago. And if you can look into it, so there's this little piece right here. When I lock the car, that little thing pops out. When I unlock it, you can hear it. So that's kind of cool how I thought it was just a normal pop one, but if the car's locked, nothing opens. So that is actually a good safety feature. You don't have to worry about someone siphoning your gas or anything. But again, the gas cap is really big. You can see how big the actual cap is, and then there's just so much space. But yeah, that is the gas cap, a little quirky. On to number 2, which is really weird. This piece right down here, it looks almost like it could be a light or a reflector, but it's actually nothing. I've even had the car at night shining a flashlight at it, and this thing doesn't do anything. It doesn't reflect light at all, and there's no light. But the weirdest part of this, there's actually cables in the backside of it. So if we look under the car now, there's actually a plug back there, which is ridiculous, and it's almost like there is a blank for a bulb. So one of these days I'll mess with that to see what it is, but that is just really weird how it's not a reflector, it's not a light, and yet there's a plug. And from what I've seen, 2009 to 2012, which is what this body type is, a lot of them do have this red, but it looks like all the sport ones actually have it black. But then all the 2013 and up, that is all red. And I have seen some forums saying maybe European or Asian spec 370s, that is actually a light of some sort. But it is really weird that literally on my car is nothing. So I might mess with it and possibly turn it into a 4th brake light. It'd be cool if it would blink or something. But yeah, that is a weird quirk on the outside. Let's move on to the inside because there are many more on the inside. So before we move on to the inside, actually, we'll go on to number 3. We'll go ahead and lock the car real quick. Now, if I unlock it and hold down the lock button, the windows are actually gonna go down. So that is really cool. When I bought the car, the salesman told me about that. So that is pretty nifty, especially in the hot summer days. If you don't want to go out to your car and get exploded by the crazy heat when you open the door, you can just go ahead and do that and make the windows go down. And on the flip side, you can't actually put them back up with the key. So if I hold down the lock button, nothing happens. So it would be cool if they made it to where you could put them up as well, but it is pretty neat to have them go down. So now we'll move on to number 4 and number 5. We'll go ahead and hop on inside the car. All right, so first thing on the inside is the radio stations. So now we have the navigation screen in this car. We'll go ahead and just go to my list of presets for all my stations. So I can change the station, I can turn this dial. That makes sense, turning it clockwise goes down, or I can hit the button and then I can just use touchscreen. And then on the steering wheel, on this button here, same thing. I can go down and then I can go up. That makes a lot of sense. So if we notice, we're on 95.1, then it goes to 96.1 and then 100.3. So if I go down, I'm from 95 to 96 going down again to 103. So what's weird about this is now if I go to the full screen mode, which just shows the entire radio station and everything, now if I go down, we now went up. We're now at 95.1. If I go up, we're now going in the opposite direction. So I now have to go down to go back to 95, go up with my thumb to 103, but back in the full screen, I now go up. So it's kind of weird how they flip-flopped it. It probably would have been a little better if they made this a left to right instead of an up to down, and maybe made this a 4 direction button. But yeah, kind of weird when I'm used to going down, going through stations or something, but then when it automatically pops itself to here, now going down is now going up. So it's opposite, kind of weird. Next up with the interior is the climate control settings. So first up, the center button actually spins, which there's no reason for it to spin. It does nothing when you're spinning it. So that's probably a shared button between these ones, how it can go turning and everything like that. But the weird thing is it'll change. So if I hit mode, so we're now at up, and there's feet and head for the climate. So that's cool. And then if I turn it off, we're now off. But if I hit mode again, we're now on head. So that's not where I left it off. So if I do that, we'll just turn the fan up a little bit. So if I turn it off again, and now if I use the fan to turn it on, it's now on feet. So it doesn't leave it where you left it off. And then if I hit this again, we're now there again. So it seems like whenever you start it with the fan, it always comes back to you at your feet. And then starting it here, it comes back to you at your head. So kind of weird how it doesn't leave where it left off. That would have been a little bit better because I always keep it on that one. So it's kind of weird. If I turn it off, then no matter how I turn it back on, I gotta go back. So for number 6, that is how you move the seats. Now I have a touring model which gives me the power adjusting seats, and if you look at them, on the inside is where your buttons are, forward and back, and then your recline is this button here. Same goes for the passenger seat, you have the buttons there. And the first few weeks of owning the car, I would grab over here to try to adjust the seat, and if you look over here, these dials just make the base go up and down like that. So it will take a little bit getting used to. First few weeks I'd go over here to do something and nothing would happen, and then you got to remember they're over here. But then a cool thing about that is, if for some reason your passenger seat is all jacked up, when I first bought the car, just getting things squared away in this little glove box back here, the seat was all messed up because I was in it from the wrong side. But it was cool when I got in as the driver and that seat's all jacked up in my way. All I have to do is just reach right over and put it right back, rather than having to reach over and try to fiddle with the controls over on this side. So it might take a little bit getting used to the controls for the power seats being on the inside like this, but once you do, they're actually pretty convenient. Next topic is gas mileage. Now, normally you wouldn't think gas mileage is a quirky topic, but I think it is for this car. So the EPA rates this vehicle with a 6-speed manual at 18 miles per gallon in the city and 26 out on the highway. And to put that in perspective, when I had the Genesis Coupe with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, that one was EPA rated at 20 in the city and 30 on the highway. And in the Genesis Coupe, I was lucky to get about 17 around town, and 26, 27 is about all I could do out on the highway. And only if I was really, really conservative, I could actually get to 30. I think the 5-speed automatic just killed that car. But the crazy thing I'm finding with the 370 and this transmission, if we go into my miles per gallon, I've been averaging pretty good gas mileage. And I don't drive super conservative where I'm not, flooring it at all. I like to punch it past 4,000 RPMs just because it's got a lot of power and it's fun to play with. But around town, I normally do average about 23. And then when I am on the highway cruising, I'll get about 31.5. So this car seems really good on gas. And actually right now, that display is from my track event at VIR. So that's including about 6 hours highway driving, maybe an hour worth of track, and maybe 30 minutes worth of bumper to bumper traffic. So about 25 miles per gallon on that entire track trip, which is pretty impressive. The Genesis was definitely below 20 that whole event when I did that. But I think for a 3.7 liter V6, that's pretty good gas mileage. I have yet to see below 23 miles per gallon on my normal daily commute. And then another cool thing is the range. This has a pretty big gas tank, probably 18 to 19 gallons. So I just filled up the other day. I've only gone 23 miles on this tank, and we got about 400 miles on a tank. And actually on the way to VIR, after 1 hour of driving on a full tank, I had already gone 100 miles and no LEDs were gone from my gas. So what I'm finding with the 370, it is fuel efficient for what it is, and it's got a really good range because of a pretty good sized gas tank. And I find myself filling up about once a month when I'm only just driving to work and back with no extra adventures. But for a sports car like this, I didn't really care about gas mileage. That wasn't on my list of things to care about, but it's pretty cool to see how this thing is almost like a Prius. It's just really good gas mileage and a lot of range. So for number 8 on the list of quirks with the 370Z, it is the trunk lid for this car. Now, when I had the Genesis Coupe and I made the video of things I hated about that car, people ripped me apart for complaining about the trunk. With the Genesis Coupe, the only way to open up the trunk was pressing a button on the key fob or pressing the button on the door in the vehicle. For this car, there's no key fob button and there's no button on the inside of the car. So with the car locked right now, when you get up to the rear of it, there are two buttons back here. We have a circular button right there and then a long square button here. The circular one unlocks it and the square one actually does the trunk. So every day when I go out to my car, all I have to do with my key in my little backpack, I just tap the circle button twice, unlocks all the doors, and press the square button once, and the trunk opens right up. And then closing it at the end of the day, all I have to do, tap the circle one once, and the car is back locked. And even without unlocking it, with the key in my pocket, I can just press the square button and open up the trunk, and then if I were to close it again, the car would still be locked. Now this trunk does take a little bit getting used to. Every now and then I'll go up to it, and if I hit the circle button once, it won't unlock the other door, so we'll go ahead and close it now. The car is locked. If I just press it once and then pop the trunk, but then if I go around to the car, it's locked, and if my key is already in the trunk, because it's always in my backpack, I then have to get out, open the trunk again, and then unlock the car again. But overall, the trunk is really convenient. I know this is a sports car. Most people might not use a trunk on a daily basis, and I don't know if the car was really designed to be that kind of car, but for me, I use it every single day, 2 times a day at least, and I find it extremely convenient. Well, there you go, everybody. Those are 8 quirks with the Nissan 370Z. I think my favorite one is the trunk. I really like how it works. It's just super convenient for what I use it for. Out of all of them, the most annoying thing is I would say it's the climate controls actually, just because I'll have it on the feet and the head in the temperature I like, but then if I go to shut it off and turn it back on, it is pretty annoying to have to then go back through and make sure it's on the right setting. So it could have been a little nicer if Nissan developed that a little bit better. But overall, nothing I super hate or super love. It's just a few quirks, a few weird things with the car, and overall, I think it's a pretty cool car. A lot of great things, minimal things that are actually not good about it. But like any car, there are a few things that are just a little weird. Well, there you go, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Be sure to give us a high five and subscribe. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram for many more photos of the 370Z. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next video.